Good day, class. Our group will discuss about the intangible assets, but before that, I'll start in prayer. Let's bow our head and feel the presence of the Lord. Lord God, thank you po sa paggising namin sa araw-araw. Maraming salamat po sa mga blessings na ibinibigay mo sa amin. Naway panatilihin mong malakas at ligtas ang aming pangangatawan at malampasan ang mga problemang kaharapin at naway matapos na ang mga problemang kinakaharap ng mundo. Amen.
Motivation. God never said that the journey would be easy, but He did say that the arrival would be worthwhile.
So yun po, alam naman po natin na sa buhay marami tayong struggles and challenges na nararanasan lalo na kapag may ina-achieve po tayong bagay. Pero sinasabi po dito na natural lang po na makaranas tayo ng difficulties kasi kailangan naman nating paghirapan lahat ng bagay. Tapos marelate po natin to sa course natin na nahihirapan po tayo lahat pero alam naman po natin na in the end, worth it po lahat ng ito.
Intangible assets. Intangible asset, it is identifiable, non-monetary, without physical substance. Pag sinabing intangible assets, meaning yan, these assets, kahit pag-aari siya ng kumpanya, see to it na hindi mo siya nahahawakan, hindi mo siya nakikita at hindi mo siya na-apply yung iba pang senses mo sa kanya. Characteristics of intangible assets. There are 4 words to define what is intangible assets. Identifiable, non-monetary, no physical substance, controlled by entity. First, pag sinabi natin identifiable, it's either separable from the entity. Sinabing separable, pwede ba natin itong isold or ibenta, i-transfer, i-rent, or exchange. The other one is arises. Arises of the contract or the law. It's all about the legal aspects. Non-monetary. Pag sinabing non-monetary, mahirap siyang i-convert sa cash or sa cash equivalent. No physical substance. Sinabing physical substance, hindi siya nahahawakan. Controlled by the entity. Controlled means kahit anong gawin nila is pwede nilang gamitin yung intangible assets and it's a result of past event. Past meaning, kaya dapat yung intangible asset ay nakarate na ng corporation or ng kumpanya. Critical attributes. There are 3 words in critical attributes. First, identifiability. Second, control. And then, future economics benefits. Identifiability. An item is identifiable when it's what? Separable. Meaning, kaya mo siyang mabenta without selling the other assets in the company, without selling the whole company itself. B. Arises from the contractual or other legal rights. Meaning, meron ka dapat ma-contractual or legal rights for that asset. Ibig sabihin, ikaw lang dapat ang may karapatan through legal matters. Control. We have control over the asset if we have the power to obtain benefits from the assets. Ibig sabihin, dapat ikaw lang ang may sole power to obtain benefits from that assets. Otherwise, marami kayo na pwedeng mag-manufacture ng assets na yan. Hindi natin pwede masabi na intangible assets yan. And then last, ito yung hindi ko pa na babanggit. Yung dalawa nabanggit ko na kanina yan. Future economics benefits. Ito yung mga revenues and cost savings. As long as meron tayong benefits na nakukuha from that asset, ibig sabihin, the future economic benefits must flow to the entity. Meron dapat tayong ma-receive na revenue or dapat meron tayong ma-save by having that assets on our books. Recognition of intangible assets should be recognized in the following conditions. It is probable that the future economic benefits that are attributable to the asset will flow to the entity. The cost of assets can be measured reliably. Sabi dyan, Kapag ang intangible assets ay hindi na-meet yung dalawang definition and criteria na nasa taas, meaning re-required na yung expenditure ng item na yun is re-recognized as expense when it is incurred.
After we recognize or we qualify an intangible asset through the recognition principle, we move on through the initial measurement. It is also what we call the valuation. We are going to give the valuation of an intangible asset. So, initially, intangible assets are measured through their cost. Cost means to say that this is the cash and cash equivalents that are paid, or it is the fair value of non-monetary asset given. Ang cost of intangible asset ay nakadepende sa mga sumusunod. Pwedeng separate acquisition or purchase, yung pagbili natin. Yung cost doon is yung purchase price. Pwedeng combination ng business, pwedeng grant ng gobyerno, pwedeng exchange ng asset, or pwede ring self-creation or yung tinatawag nating internal generated. Kapag na-acquire natin ang intangible assets as a part of business combination, we should be measuring it at fair value at the acquisition date. Kapag naman government grant, we measure it at fair value or at a nominal amount plus any expenditure that is directly attributable to preparing the asset for its intended use. Kapag naman exchange assets, pwedeng ma-measure ito through fair value of asset given up or fair value of asset received or yung carrying amount ng asset given up. Kapag naman internally generated or the intangible assets were created inside the company, may kina-classify tayong dalawang phase, which are the research phase and the development. Are some cost na hindi kasali sa cost of intangible asset and kailangang i-record as an expense agad-agad. So the first one is the cost of introducing a new product or service, including costs of advertising and promotional activities, cost of conducting business in new location or new class of customer, including cost of staff training, administration and other general overhead costs, cost incurred while an asset capable of operating in a manner intended by management has yet to be brought in use, and initial operating loss. Intangible asset has two classification. It could be classified as indefinite life or finite life. Indefinite life meaning there's no foreseeable limit to the period over which the asset is expected to generate net cash inflows for the entity. Ibig sabihin, hindi natin alam kung hanggang kailan siya magiging useful for the entity. Sa finite life naman, it has a limited period of benefit to the entity. Ibig sabihin, there is a certain time na magiging useful lang yung asset na yon. Pwedeng 1 taon, 6 na buwan, or 2 taon. So the question here is, when do we amortize? If it is classified ba as indefinite life or if it is classified as finite life. So, intangible assets with finite lives. The cost less residual value should be amortized on a systematic basis over that life. So, may basis na tayo ng life. Sa finite life, may basis na tayo ng buhay ng isang asset. So, ibig sabihin, i-amortize po natin siya. So, companies have the freedom to use the amortization method provided that it should reflect the pattern of benefits. However, if it is not determined reliably, it should be amortized by the straight line method na lang. And then, yung amortization charge is nire-recognize yon sa profit or loss unless may ibang standard na nagre-require na it should be included sa cost of another asset. And the last one is yung amortization period, dapat yon nire-review at least annually. And the asset should also be assessed for impairment in accordance with IAS 36. Sa intangible asset with indefinite useful lives naman, it should not be amortized since wala tayong basis ng kung hanggang kailan ito useful sa entity, we cannot amortize it. So, yung useful life naman, dapat nire-review to every reporting period. So, this asset should also be assessed for impairment in accordance with IAS 36. Now, due to the nature of intangible assets, subsequent expenditure will only rarely meet the criteria of being recognized in the carrying amount of an asset. Subsequent expenditures on brand mastheads. So, meron pong sinabi yung standard na kapag nga daw po sa brands, mastheads, publishing titles, customer lists, and similar items is kahit anong subsequent expenditures nga daw po doon is ida-direct na as expense. So, ma-recognize dapat po yun sa profit or loss at hindi na daw po ika-capitalize.
The first one is patent. It is an exclusive right granted by the government to an inventor, enabling him to control the manufacture, sale, or other use of an invention for a specified period of time. A patent gives an inventor the right to stop other people making or using their invention. The legal life of a patent is 20 years according to the Republic Act 8293. A patent cannot be renewed, but the life can be extended by a new patent for improvements and changes. If the patent is acquired by purchase, the cost includes the purchase price, import duties, non-refundable purchase taxes, and directly attributable cost. It can be acquired to self-creation, and the cost includes the licensing and related legal fees in securing rights. Any legal fees related to the successful defense of the patent should be in expense because the legal fees you paid is only for the maintenance of the patent, but not about extending the useful life or the benefit of the patent. A patent shall be amortized over the legal life or its useful life, whichever is shorter. If a competitive patent is acquired to protect an original patent, the cost shall be amortized over the remaining life of the old patent. Trademark: a symbol, sign, slogan, or name used to mark a product to distinguish it from other products. The cost of trademark, when purchased, includes the purchase price and directly attributable cost. If internally developed, the cost of trademark includes the expenditures required to establish it, such as filing fees, registry fees, and other costs. The legal life of a trademark is 10 years and can be renewable for periods of 10 years each. With this, an entity can classify a trademark as an intangible asset with an indefinite useful life. The cost of trademark should not amortize but should be tested for impairment. You cannot amortize the trademark because of its indefinite useful life. You should test it for impairment at least every year or when there is an indication of impairment of trademark. The third one is copyright. It is an exclusive right granted by the government to the author, composer, or artist, enabling the grantee to publish, sell, or otherwise benefit from the literary, musical, or artistic work. When the material is copyrighted, you cannot copy the material because it has an exclusive right to the composer or the artist and author. The term of protection for copyright is during the life of the author and 50 years after its death. A copyright should be reviewed for impairment by assessing at the end of each reporting period whether there is an indication of impairment. The copyright cannot be amortized because you have no basis for its useful life. Theoretically, it can be, but it's impossible to assume when will the artist, composer, or author will die. Franchise, an authorization granted by a government or company to an individual or group, enabling them to carry out specified commercial activities. This also means that a franchisor licenses its know-how, procedures, intellectual property, use of its business model, brand and rights to sell its branded products and services to a franchisee. The cost of franchise includes the lump sum payment for the acquisition of the franchise, plus directly attributable costs necessary for intended use, such as legal fees and expenses incurred in connection with the acquisition of the right. If the franchise is granted for a definite period, the cost is amortized over its useful life or definite period, whichever is shorter. If the franchise is granted indefinitely, the cost is not amortized but tested for its impairment, at least annually. Other intangible assets: broadcasting license, airline rights, and customer list database. Customer list database is comprising of age and contact number of a customer. This will only qualify as an intangible asset when it is acquired, but when a customer list is only internally generated by an entity, it is not qualified as an intangible asset.
So para mas maintindihan natin yung lesson, may mga problems kami na inihanda na i-discuss namin.
For problem number 1, JD Sapphot Corporation provides the following data. And the question is, how much should be reported in the statement of financial position as intangible assets? So, isa-isahin po natin sila. First is franchise cost, 10-year agreement, 5 million. Itong franchise cost, part siya ng identifiable intangible asset, kaya kasama siya sa ire-report natin sa statement of financial position. Next is computer software, 3 million. Yung computer software, isa siya sa example ng intangible asset. Kasi 'di ba yung computer software, hindi naman natin siya nahahawakan. Part lang siya ng system ng computer. Next is patent on newly developed invention, 4 million. Itong patent, syempre kasama siya kasi isa din siya sa example ng intangible asset at na-discuss po siya kanina ni Ate Risa. Next is legal cost in organizing the newly formed corporation, 80,000. Hindi po siya kasama as intangible asset kasi organizational cost po siya
at expense lang po siya. Next, internally generated customer list database. Cost of creation, 700,000. Hindi rin po siya kasama kasi when customer list is internally generated, it's not intangible asset, the entity. Pero kapag yung customer list is purchased by the entity or acquired siya by the entity, tsaka lang siya magiging part as intangible asset. Next, bond sinking fund, 2,700,000. Itong fund po, ito yung fund na siniset aside lang natin for that purpose, kaya hindi po siya intangible asset. Customer lease, purchase at cost 500,000. Kasama siya as intangible asset kasi pinurchase mo po siya. Next naman po is goodwill, 1,500,000 and copyright purchase, 1 million. Ito pong dalawang to is also an example of intangible asset. Kaya kasama siya sa ire-report natin sa Statement of Financial Position. Kaya ang mangyayari dyan, para makuha natin yung ire-report natin sa Statement of Financial Position as intangible asset, lahat po ng may circle na green, i-add lang po natin silang lahat. Tapos, yung mga naka-X, i-disregard lang po natin sila. Kaya, yung sagot po is 15 million.
So next is yung problem number 2. Ace Corporation developed a new machine. Since the company regarded it as valuable, the entity had it patented. The following costs were incurred. So yung una is yung purchase of special equipment for machine development for 1,500,000. Next is the salaries for scientists, technician, engineers, and assistant na 500,000. Next, yung legal fees for patent filing na 300,000. And the fees paid to the government patent office for 30,000. So, may question tayo dyan sa baba. So, yung unang question is, how much should be recorded as intangible asset? So, mamaya, i-compute natin kung magkano ba yung intangible asset based on the given information. Next, yung how much for the research and development expenses or research and development cost. So, ngayon, i-identify natin yung given information kung research and development cost ba siya or intangible asset ba siya. So, yung una natin is purchase of special equipment for machine development. So, nag-given na dyan for machine development. Siyempre, papasok doon yung development activity. Na ibig sabihin dito, ina-apply na natin yung mga research finding natin. Nag-prototype na tayo and dine-develop na natin yung invention natin. Kaya mako-consider natin siya na research and development cost. Next naman is yung salaries for scientists, technician, engineers, and assistant na 500,000. Siyempre, kapag nagpapasahod tayo ng empleyado natin, automatically ine-expense na natin yan. Kaya part siya ng research and development costs or expenses. Next naman yung legal fees for patent filing. So, kapag nag-apply tayo kapag nag-file tayo ng patent and nag-incur tayo ng fees doon, automatically intangible asset na siya. Kasama din yung fees paid to government patent office. So, yung number one question, how much should be recorded as intangible asset? So, yung intangible asset natin dyan is dalawa. Yung 300,000 na legal fees for patent filing and 30,000 na fees paid to the government patent office, which is 330,000. So, yung sa pangalawang question naman, how much for the research and development? So, meron tayo dyan na purchase special equipment for machine and development na 1,500,000 and the salaries for scientist, technician, engineers, and assistant na 500,000. So, meron tayong research and development expenses or cost na 2 million. So, next is yung problem number 3. On January 1, 2016,
Ace Company purchased a patent for 7,140,000. The patent is being amortized over the remaining legal life of 15 years, expiring on January 1, 2031. During 2019, the entity determined that the economic benefits of patent would not last longer than 10 years from the date of acquisition. So, may tatlo tayong question. Yung first question is how much is the patent amortization in 2016? And the second question is how much the patent amortization in 2019? Next is how much is the carrying value to be reported in the December 31, 2019 Statement of Financial Position. So, sasagutan na natin dito yung mga problem. So, yung number 1 is how much is the patent amortization in 2016. So, una natin gagawin dyan is identify muna natin magkano yung cost ni patent. So, yung cost ng patent is 7,140,000. Next is yung legal life ni patent, which is 15 years. So, i-divide lang natin siya. 7,140,000 divided by 15 years is equals to 476,000 patent amortization in 2016. So, yung next question natin is yung how much is the patent amortization in 2019. So, ganito gagawin natin dyan, guys. So, in 2016, meron tayong 476,000 na amortization. So, ang gagawin natin dyan, from 2016 to 2019, meron tayong 3-year amortization. So, ito times natin yan sa 476,000. So, 476,000 times 3 is equals to 1,428,000 amortization for 3 years. So, and then, nalaman natin na yung useful life or yung legal life ni patent is 10 years na lang, or yung future economic benefit ni patent is 10 years na lang. So, ang una natin gagawin dyan is yung identify muna natin or computein muna natin magkano ba yung latest carrying value ni patent. So, yung from the date of acquisition na 7,140,000, ililess natin dyan yung 3 years. From 2016 to 2019, which is 1,428,000. So, it is equal to 5,712,000. So, kung mapapansin natin, di ba naging 15 years yung legal life ni patent. Pero nalaman natin na 10 years. So, ang gagawin natin dyan is ililess natin yung 3 years dun sa bago niyang future economic benefit na 10 years. So, 10 years minus 3 years is equals to 7 years. Kaya ang mangyayari dyan, i-divide natin yung latest carrying value ni patent dun sa 7 years. So, 5,712,000 divided by 7 is equals to 816,000. So, next yung problem number 3. How much is the carrying value to be reported in December 31, 2019 Statement of Financial Position? So, ganito lang yung gagawin natin dyan. I-deduct lang natin yung current year amortization na 816,000 dun sa latest carrying value ni patent na 5,712,000. So, magkakaroon tayo ng 4,896,000. Yun yung ilalagay natin sa Statement of Financial Position natin by December 31, 2019.
Hola Bell, so may pahabol akong chika about sa goodwill. Let's start. Goodwill arises when earnings exceed normal earnings by reason of good name and high reputation. So masasabi lang natin na may goodwill yung company kung maganda na yung pangalan niya at malawak at malakas na yung kanyang reputation. Ibig sabihin yung branding ng company kilala na or established na. So, goodwill is the most intangible of all intangible assets. Bakit? Kasi nga identified siya as a whole sa entity. Ibig sabihin hindi sila pwedeng magkahiwalay. So, bukod sa inseparable, wala pang contract na nag-aaray sa goodwill. So medyo contradict siya dun sa characteristic ng intangible assets na identifiable na kaninang diniscuss ni JD.
Pag sinabi natin identifiable, it's either separable from the entity. Sinabi mo separable, pwede ba natin itong isolve or ibenta, transfer, rent, or
So ito, malalaman natin siya kung bakit nga ba siya na pasama sa intangible assets. So merong dalawang uri ng goodwill, which is yung internal goodwill and external goodwill. Yung internal goodwill, yun yung self-generated na goodwill, hindi siya binili or inacquire. Bale, hindi siya nare-recognize as an assets kasi nga, hindi imposible siyang ma-measure lalo na in terms of financially. Tsaka, ang pinaka-concept lang dito is, alam lang ng company na maganda yung reputation nila sa industry. Parang sabihin na lang natin na, kumbaga, kunyari, ikaw, alam mo lang sa sarili mo na mabait ka, ganun. So, next naman is yung purchase goodwill. Yun yung nare-recognize as an asset kasi binayaran natin yung goodwill na to. So, sabi nga natin kanina, inseparable yung goodwill, pero paano siya nabibili? So, ganito po yan. Mabibili lang po yung goodwill kapag kasama yung buong company. 'Di ba? Sabi rin natin kanina na yung company identified siya as a whole yung goodwill identified siya as a whole together with the entity. Next naman yung amortization ng goodwill. So yung goodwill hindi po siya ina-amortize kasi indefinite yung life niya. Pero tinatest pa din siya for impairment kasi pwedeng like for example yung company humina yung branding niya or nalaos. Tulad na lang ng sabi na lang natin Nokia. Next naman, paano ba natin kinocompute yung goodwill? So, ganito lang po yun. Yung considerations, ima-minus lang po natin siya sa fair value of the identifiable net assets. So, ano nga ba yung tinatawag nating considerations? Yung considerations po, yun yung purchase price. Yung kung magkano mo binili yung company. Pero magre-recognize lang po tayo ng goodwill kapag yung purchase price po natin is mas mataas sa fair value of identifiable net assets. Like for example, ako po may in-acquire akong company. 600,000 yung binayaran ko. Pero yung fair value lang po nung net assets nung company na yun is 500k. So, meron po akong loss na 100k. Pero hindi ko po yun i-record as loss. I-record ko po yun siya as goodwill. Pero kapag mas mababa naman po yung purchase price kesa dun sa value ng net assets. For example, 500k yung bili ko dun sa company. Pero 600k yung value ng net assets niya. So, nagkaroon po ako ng gain na 100,000. I-recognize ko po siya as gain on bargain of purchase. Ibig sabihin, mas nabili ko po siya ng mas mababang halaga. Ito po yung tinatawag nating negative goodwill. So, para mas ma-appreciate naman po natin yung discussions, magbibigay po ako ng example problems. On April 1, 2011, ZZ Corporation paid cash of 620,000 for all of net assets of AA Corporation. So, the recorded assets and liabilities on April 1, 2011 as follow. Cash, 60,000. Inventory, 150,000. Property, plant, and equipment, 380,000. Goodwill, 100,000. And liability, 120,000. So, yung net assets niya po is 570,000. So, yun po. Let's compute for the goodwill. First, yung consideration or yung tinatawag po nating purchase price, which is yung 620,000 na given naman po. Then, after natin ma-identify yung purchase price, i-compute naman po natin yung fair value of identifiable net assets. Tandaan po natin, identifiable net assets. Ibig sabihin, hindi po kasama yung goodwill kasi unidentifiable po yung goodwill. Natin isasama yung goodwill na naka-record. So first, cash 60,000, inventory 150,000, property, plant and equipment 380,000, tapos ima-minus po natin yung liability na 120,000. So yung total identifiable net asset is 470,000. Tapos ano lang po yan, ima-minus lang po natin siya sa considerations katulad po ng sinabi ko po kanina. So yung purchase price 620,000 minus identifiable net assets na 470,000. Tapos yung difference po nila is 150,000. Yan po yung tinatawag nating goodwill, yung 150,000. So paano naman po kapag mas mababa yung considerations or yung purchase price dun sa fair value ng identifiable net assets? So katulad po ng sinabi ko po kanina, magre-recognize po tayo ng gain on bargain purchase. So, ito po yung example. Nabili po siya ni ZZ Corporation as 400,000. Then, ima-minus lang po natin siya sa identifiable net assets na 470,000. So, 400,000 minus 470,000 is negative 70,000. Kaya siya tinatawag na negative goodwill. Kasi nga, negative yung magiging result. Pero, magre-reflect pa rin po yan sa natin as positive. At i-recognize natin siya as gain on bargain purchase. So, yun lang po. Salamat po.
Ito po yung summary ng report namin. First is intangible asset. So yung definition ng intangible asset is an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. So, pwede natin siyang i-consider as intangible asset kahit di natin siya nahahawakan, kahit na wala mismo yung form niya. Kasi it may arise from a contractual or other legal rights or it can be separable. Kaya kapag sinabi natin intangible asset, non-physical form of asset siya. Pero hindi lahat ng non-physical ay intangible. For example, yung accounts receivable and prepaid expense. Non-physical sila pero classified sila as current assets rather than intangible assets. Next is yung characteristic ng intangible asset. So yung characteristic ng intangible asset, first is identifiable, second, non-monetary, third is no physical substance, and last is controlled by entity. So yung identifiable, ito yung must be separate from the entity at mag-array siya sa contractual or legal rights. Second is non-monetary. Ito naman, mahirap siyang i-convert into cash or cash equivalent. Next naman is no physical substance. So yung no physical substance, hindi ito nahahawakan kasi wala siyang physical substance or appearance or physical form. Last is controlled by entity. So, kapag sinabi natin controlled by entity, meron tayong power to obtain the future economic benefit from the asset. Next is classification. So, yung intangible asset can be classified into indefinite life and finite life. So, kapag sinabi natin indefinite life, no foreseeable limit to the cash flow na magge-generate natin or mabe-benefit natin dun sa intangible asset natin. Yung finite life naman, meron lang itong limited period or number of years na magiging beneficial sa entity. Amortization. Ito yung systematical allocation ng intangible asset. Kasi 'di ba nagkakaroon siya ng amortization taon-taon depende sa legal life ng intangible asset. Patent. Ito yung exclusive right na ginagamit ng government dun sa inventor para magkaroon ng control sa sales and manufacturer. Tsaka kapag granted ka na ng patent sa invention mo, wala nang pwedeng gumaya nun. Pwede mo siyang kasuhan kapag ginaya niya yung invention mo. Next is trademark. Yung trademark, ito yung symbol, sign, slogan, or name na ginagamit para ma-mark yung isang product. Next naman is copyright. So, yung copyright, ito yung exclusive right na ginagamit ng government sa mga author, composer, or artist. So, kapag copyrighted yung materials, syempre hindi natin siya pwedeng i-copy-paste, saka hindi natin siya pwedeng nakawin or angkinin. Next naman is franchise. So, kapag sinabi nating franchise, under the agreement, ito yung si one party called franchisor. Nagagrant siya ng rights to another party, which is called franchisee. So, yung franchise, ito yung method na dinidistribute natin yung product services natin involving a franchisor. Kasi siya yung nag establish ng trademark or business system. Si franchisee naman, siya yung nagpe-pay ng royalty and often initial fee. Last is goodwill. So, yung goodwill, ito yung nag-a-arise siya kapag lumagpas yung kita sa normal na kita by reason of good name, capable of staff and personnel, high credit standing, reputation for fair dealings, reputation for superior product, favorable location, and a list of regular customers. Yun lang po. Thank you po.